As part of national education, due to the efforts of Balagangadhar Tilak and Lajpat Rai and others between 1906 to 1909. A number of national schools were started in different parts of the country. At the, at the Calcutta, a college was opened in 1906 under the principalship of Arvind Ghosh. A national college was also begun in 1909 at Machilipatnam by the Andhra National Council of Education. So these schools and colleges provided education to the students who were expelled from government colleges due to their agitational programs. The British government was shaken by the prevailing political unrest and reacted sharply. During 1905 to 1909, thousands of people were arrested and sent to jails. Peaceful and non-violent processionists were subjected to lathi charges. Students were severely dealt with. The people were beaten indiscriminately to create terror. Curbs were imposed in the press, and many editors like Aravind Ghosh, editor of the Vedam, Vande Mataram, Upadhyaya, editor of the Sandhya, and Bhupendranath Dutt, editor of the Yugandhar, were prosecuted and punished. Prosecuted and punished. So suppress the movement, the British authorities arrested and deported. Tilak was tried and sentenced to 6 years rigorous imprisonment in 1908. With the arrest and imprisonment of leaders, the movement lost its momentum. By 1909, the British had restarted. By 1909, the Britishers had reasserted their authority. Though short-lived, the movement was carried by revolutionaries through their secret organizations using bombs, killing British officers, continued till the end of the World War I. Assessment of extremist Lal Bal Pal and Aurobindo. The policy and movement of the extremists yielded good and bad dividends. The good was that the partition of Bengal was annulled in 1911, shifted off the capital to Delhi. This gave a new self-confidence and self-assurance to Indian nationalists. The aim of Swaraj, though denied by Lord Morley, was no longer looked upon as a revolutionary demand, and the shock of the First World War was required to compel the British government to proclaim self-government institutions as the goal of constitutional development in India. In this uh, topic, we discuss about Lala Lajpat Rai, the famous and important person in the freedom movement. The Lala Lajpat Rai, popularly known as Lal, he was a famous extremist leader from Punjab, popularly known as Sher-e Punjab, means Punjab Kesari. He was a philanthropist, social reformer, a fearless journalist, and a staunch nationalist. He led a massive agrarian movement in Punjab in 1907, and was deported to Burma. Due to his deportation, extremist activities in Punjab had come down. Later, he actively participated in the non-cooperation movement. He led Hindu Sanghatan movement along with Malavya. His main objective was Hindu-Muslim unity and the spread of modern education. On 30th October 1928, while leading the anti-Simon Commission procession in Lahore, he was brutally lathi-charged and died 18 days later due to the injuries. And another person, Bala Gangadhar Tilak. Among the extremist leaders, Bala Gangadhar Tilak was considered to be an outstanding revolutionary and was known as Lokamanya, the uncrowned king of India. He popularized the cult of patriotism. His contribution to freedom struggle was monumental, and he is considered to be one of the makers of modern India. He believed in the strength of the masses and maintained close contact with them. Through celebrations of Ganapati and Navaratri and Shivaji festivals, he tried to raise national spirit in Maharashtra. Being influenced by Renade, he fought against the evils of his time. And another person, Bipin Chandrapal. He was the founder of Maratha and Kesari newspapers. Millions of Indians were impressed by his patriotic writings. He was responsible for the introduction of extremism in the national movement. He demanded for Swaraj. He stated that Swaraj is my birthright and I shall have it. He was the first Congress leader to suffer several terms of imprisonment. He played a leading role in organizing the Nationalist Party and collaboration with Lal and Paul. He believed in service and sacrifice. British described him as the father of unrest in India. He launched a no tax campaign in famine stricken areas, for which he was arrested and sentenced sentenced to 18 months imprisonment. Tilak was a great scholar and his great work, Gita Rahasya, revealed his scholars, scholastic eminence and gave a deep insight into Vedic literature. Following the partition of Bengal 1905, he laid stress on Swadeshi national education boycott and Swaraj due to his activities. He was sentenced to 6 years imprisonment and sent to Andaman Islands. As a result of this, the extremist movement was withdrawn, withered away. And another person, Aravind Ghosh, he was the fourth person of militant nationalist and a close campaign of and a close companion of Chayo Lal Bal Paul. He was influenced by the Vedantic movement of Swadeshi, Viveka, Neo Vedic movement of Swami Vivekananda, as it was also based on the religious mysticism, mysticism of Hinduism. He was an outstanding student of the classics in Cambridge. He passed the ICS examination with great distinction. He composed a number of poems. He wrote a series of aggressive articles in the Hindu Prakash of Bombay. The partition of Bengal in 1905 brought him out into the open as a political leader. He maintained very close contact with Bipin Chandra Pal and Tilak and challenged the moderates in the Congress. He was associated with Bipin Chandra Pal in running Vande Mataram. He started the Bengali daily Yukhantar. The Bengal National College was founded in 1906 with Aurobindo as principal. Due to his active participation in anti-partition politics, British government imposed heavy repression on him. As a result, he retired to Pondicherry and withdrew from politics. Revolutionary movements. The revolution and another point, revolutionary movements. The revolutionaries believed that alien rule was the revolutionaries believed the alien rule was destructive of all that is worthwhile in national life their common aim was freedom of the motherland from the British rule. As to the methods, the revolutionaries believed that Western imperialism could only imperialism could only be ended by Western methods of violence. For this purpose, they formed secret societies, recruited the young and thousands recruited the young and with higher values of bold action and sacrifice for the cause of the country. They, they distributed arms, taught their members the manufacture of bombs. They have took their inspiration from Irish revolutionaries and the Russian nihilists. They pinned their faith in the violent cult of the bomb. The revolutionary activities are divided into two broad divisions: revolutionary terrorist activities in India, with the secret organization working in India, and revolutionary organizations founded outside of India, abroad, carrying their activities with the connection of Indian secret societies of revolutionaries. And another point, another one important activity, and another important point, revolutionary activities in Maharashtra, Bengal, Punjab, and other provinces. The first indications of the revolutionary movement in India was in Maharashtra and among the captive and Brahmins of Pune district. These Brahmins were descendants of the Peshwas, chief ministers, means Peshwa means chief ministers, and under Chhatrapati Sahu and later rulers of Maharashtra. He was the Peshwa rule, the Captain government, which was overthrown by Chitpan government. It was the Peshwa rule. The Chitpan government, which was overthrown by the East India Company under Lord Hastings. These Brahmins kept their love and devotion to Swaraj and a certain discontent and longing for to return to power naturally remained. Balagangadhar Tilak's Chitpavan Brahmins inauguration of the Ganapati festival in 1893 and the Shivaji festival in 1895 injected some pro-Swaraj and anti-British ways in the politics of Maharashtra. The first political murder of a European was committed at Pune on 22nd June 1897 by the Chopekar brothers, Chaptawan Brahmins, Chitpavan Brahmins, Damodar and Balkrishna. The target of attack was Mr. Rand, president of the Plague Committee, Plague, Plague Committee at Pune. The provocation was tyranny of the Plague Committee on sending soldiers in to inspect houses of civilians for plague affected persons. At that time, the Tilak in his newspaper Maharashtra had written, "Plague is more merciful to us than its human prototypes now reigning in the city." The Chapekar brothers were caught, convicted, and hanged. Tilak was awarded 18 months imprisonment on his seditious writings against the government. On December 6, 1907, the terrorists made an attempt to blow up the lieutenant governor's train by a bomb near Midnapur. In the same month, Mr. Allen, a former district magistrate of Dhaka, was shot in the back. The revolutionaries ran a bomb factory in Calcutta. The police raided the factory and recovered several bombs, explosive materials, and certain letters. This was termed as the Alipur conspiracy case. 39 people, included Arvind Ghosh, Virendra Kumar Ghosh, Bharendra Kumar Ghosh, and Harindra Ghosh were arrested. Goshain turned approver and he was killed. Two were hanged and 36 got heavy punishments. Ashutosh Biswas, who acted as the public prosecutor, was shot dead. Arvind Ghosh was acquitted for want of evidence. Some of the accused, including Barindra, were transported for life. In Punjab also, secret organizations were very active. Incidents in Bengal further inflamed the Punjabis. The 5th anniversary of the revolt of the 15th The 50th anniversary of the revolt of 1857 was approaching, and speakers frequently called upon the Sikh regiments to revolt. Ajit Singh was the head heart and soul to terrorist movement and was helped by Aga Haider and Syed Haider Reja. Deportation of Lajpati Rai and Ajit Singh quietened things for a while. And next, in the Madras presidency, people were inspired by the equivalent speeches of Bipin Chandra Pal. People were impressed by the eloquent speech. Sorry, people were inspired by the eloquent speeches of Bipin Chandra Pal, Chidambaram Pillai, and openly spoke of absolute independence. The other prominent leaders were Subramanya Shiva, Neelakanta Brahmachari, Tirumalachari, and others. The terrorists added a colorful and inspiring chapter to the history of our freedom movement. Their desperate deeds, daring plans, and indifference to death won them a lasting place in his history of the nation. As this movement was confined only to a small group of men, and as there was no base among the people, it was bound to fail. The moderates openly dishonored them, and many extremists were reluctant to accept reluc- reluctant to accept them. Another point, Indian revolutionaries in outside India. The contributions to the cause of national independence made by Indian living in foreign countries was quite considerable and noteworthy. The Indian revolutionaries abroad added a new dimension to our struggle for freedom. The outbreak of World War I gave fresh enthusiasm to the revolutionary movement against British rule in India. Many revolutionaries were sent with a plan to organize centers in England, France, America, Afghanistan, Germany, and Japan. In England, Shyamji Krishna Verma, Shyamji Krishna Verma set up Indian Home Rule Society, popularly known as the India House. Very soon, the India House became a center for Indian activities in London. A group of Indian revolutionaries, V.D. Savarkar, Hardayal, and Madanlal, Madanlal Dhingra, became members of the India House. From France, Madam Kama associated with Sardar Singh Rana, Mukund Desai, Virendranath Chattopadhyaya, Hardayal, and Shakla, Shaklatwala, etc., led the revolutionary activities against British rule from America. The Ghadar party was very active under the leadership of Baba Shobhan Singh Bhakna and Lala Hardayal. From Afghanistan, With the help of the Afghan ruler and with the support of Germany and Turkey was established a Lodian provincial government, a Lodian provisional government in Afghanistan under the presidentship Raja Mahendra Pratap Barkatullah as prime minister and Obaidullah as minister of India. Indian Independence Committee was set up with the support of Germany, etc. These revolutionary organizations came into functioning to liberate India from British rule. When the World War when the First World War broke out, they thought that Britain's difficulties should be exploited for the cause of India's freedom. They also received encouragement from Germans who promised to supply arms, ammunition, and money to organize a general revolt in India. So the Ghadar party sent revolutionary enthusiasts to India to liberate the country in collaboration with the Indians. Nearly 3,000 men reached India in different batches at different times throughout different routes during the First World War. The revolutionaries sent missions to West and Southeast Asian countries and established a provincial government. Established a provisional government in Afghanistan. In collaboration with Germany, they planned to supply the Indian revolutionary organizations with recruits, funds, and arms. The Germans made great efforts to export large quantities of weapons to India from USA, but their efforts did not succeed. The alertness of the British Navy was mainly responsible for the failure of Germans. The plan of concerted rising in Bengal, the Punjab, and the Uttar Pradesh with German arms during 1914 to 1915 could not be achieved between Indian revolutionaries abroad and in India. After the defeat of Germany in the World War I, Indian revolutionaries scattered into different places. Slowly, the Indian revolutionary activities came to an end. Surat letter. And another point, Surat letter. Till 1905, the Indian National Congress was under the influence of the moderates, and their methods was the constitutional agitation till 1905. The Indian National Congress was under the influence of the moderates, and their methods was the constitutional agitation. But due to the reactionary policies of Lord Curzon and the partition of Bengal, broke out differences between moderates and extremists in the method of agitation. Throughout the year 1906, there were angry discussions and mutual conflict between the moderates and the extremists over their respective policies and programs. While the latter wanted to extend to the mass movements in Bengal as well as in the rest of the country, the moderates wanted to confine the movement of Bengal and even there to limit into Swadeshi and boycott. The extremists in Bengal had been joined by large groups in the Congress belonging to other provinces, and each party prepared for a trial of strength. In 1906, the Congress held its session at Calcutta. The extremist party wants to elect Tilak as the president, but they were out, outmaneuvered by the moderates who induced Dadabhai Nauroji to accept the post. Dadabhai Nauroji, the grand old man of India, the was universally loved and respected by all congressmen. Dadabhai electrified the nationalist ranks by openly declaring in his presidential address that the goal of the Indian national movement was self-government or Swaraj, like that of the United Kingdom or the colonies. The extremists compelled the moderates to pass resolutions on all the four important points of their programmed Swaraj, Swadeshi boycott, and National Education Calcutta session, marked the Viceroy Calcutta session marked the victory of the extremist guru. These the resolutions were a victory to the extremists and were not in the linking of liking of liking of the moderates. Although the Congress had rectified the extremist proposals at the Calcutta session, the moderates were still not prepared to execute them. Prior to the 1907 Congress, Lord Minto started negotiation with the moderates for future reforms. This was a move to win over the moderates and divide the national movement divide the national movement. The extremists were confused by these negotiations and were afraid that the moderates may not take a bold stand. Moderates may not take a bold stand. Hence, they decided to capture the Congress organization at the 1907 session. The venue of the Congress session was shifted from Nagpur, a stronghold of the extremists, to Surat, where Firoz Shah Mehta, the moderate leader, had a great following. When the Congress met at Surat in 1907, Both groups vied with each other to capture the majority. Tilak made all possible attempts to avoid open conflict by evolving some compromise, but failed. The new constitution of the Congress, drafted by Gokhale, showed a clear change in the objective of Congress. From what it had accepted in the previous year, Tilak was opposed to any dilution of the goal of the Congress. He also agreed to a joint committee to settle the dispute, but the moderates adopted an uncompromising attitude. When the Congress met, the moderates proposed the name of Ras Bihari Ghosh for the presidency, while the extremists proposed the name of Lala Lajpati Rai. Lajpati Rai withdrew his name. The extremists pressed for open elections, but with no effect. Then the meeting was adjourned amid, amid, amidst noisy and unruly, unruly scenes. The next day, Rash Bihari Ghosh occupied the chair. When he got up to deliver his presidential address, Tilak ascended the platform and demanded that he should be allowed to speak. The request was rejected, but Tilak refused to submit to the ruling of the chair. The net result was that a free fight took place in the Congress. The police were called in and the moderate leaders, by adopting a new constitution, excluded the extremists from the Congress. The Surat fiasco thus divided the Congress into two camps, one led by Tilak and other by Gokhale. Post split events, the government began to suppress the government began to suppress the extremist movement with vengeance. It rendered indirect help to the moderates by arresting most of the extremist leaders. To place it, the moderate nationalists, the British government announced constitutional concessions through Minto Marley reforms of 1909. As soon as the regulation with provision of the separate communal electorates were published, the moderates were quite disillusioned. For 9 years after the Surat split, the moderates ruled over the Congress in splendid isolation. With their old ideals and uh, with their old ideas and program. But the country had lost faith in them, and the Congress had very little following. The extremists also went into wilderness for the time being. Arvindo gave up politics and retired to Pondicherry. Tilak was sent to jail for 6 years. The, the sufferings of the people were not vain. Lord, Lord Prue, Secretary of State for India, realized partition had been fostering is sore and was the cause of all anarchical agitation in Bengal. The injustice to the Bengalis was undone by the unification of Bengali speaking region through by a proclamation on March 22, 1912. At the same time, the seat of the central government was shifted from Calcutta to Delhi. Yes, the agitation which was started to rectify provincial injustice assumed the dimensions of national struggle. It left us a legacy of militant nationalism. This became a permanent feature of the national movement. People of different political classes began to act together with with dedicated patriotism in order to overcome a grave political wrong. The era of political mendicancy had ended. Mendicancy had ended. The era of political mendicancy had ended. In this unit, we read about militant nationalism, the main aims of the militant groups, revolutionary movements, and split events. Let us go to the next unit, Unit 5, Rise of Muslim. Unit 5, Rise of Muslim League and Hindu Mahasabha. In this chapter, we are going to learn how the Muslim League and Hindu Mahasabha and why. There were many communal organizations emerged because of policies applied by British government. The most important of them all were the Muslim League and the Hindu Mahasabha. The activities done by the organizations helped in the growth of religious communalism in modern India, which resulted in the division of British India into two parts, India and Pakistan in 1947. Communalism is an ideology and a result of British policies. There are three levels of communalism. In the first level, this ideology makes one think that, that the social, economic, and political interests of all members of a religious community are saved. At the second level, one believes that such interests of different communities are different. During the third level, which is really extreme stage. One believes that the interests of a community are not only different from one another, but also conflicting and shows options of opposes conflicting and shows opposition. This rise of communalism in modern India create a conflicts created conflicts among the Hindus and the Muslims. The Muslim League, representing all Indian Muslims, showed that the Hindus and Muslims in India were of two different nations. This this misinterpretation made the Hindus outburst that the Hindus formed the original and legitimate in Indian nation and believed that the followers of other religion were foreigners. Historical context of and next one historical context. During the beginning time of East India Company, it only supported Hindus. This East India Company did not offer any employment to Muslims. No important jobs were given to them. Many common and low-ranking Muslims were dependent on indigenous crafts. With the destructions of cottage industries in India, many common Muslims lost employment. They were not even allowed to the British Army. Thus, the Indian Muslims were economically ruined. In matters of education, they were pre in matters of education they were sorry in matters of education they were prevented from taking advantage of the new system of English education as late as 1872. The revolt of 1857 was a effort of both the India Hindus and the Muslims equally, but the British suspected it to be a Muslim attempt to bring back the Mughal rule. The rebellion was ruthlessly crushed by the British. For a, for a few decades after the revolt of 1857, the British government continued to have a grudge against Muslims. They were suppressed and debarred from occupying important posts, both the civil administration and the military. This condition of Muslims continued till Sir Syed Ahmad Khan extended into entered into political scene. This condition of Muslims continued till Sir Syed Ahmad Khan entered into political session. So it is the about so this is about the historical contest. So this is the historical contest context. So next today we are time is over. So another points and another chapters we will learn tomorrow we will learn.